I've never understood from a producer's point of view why we've been over the last 20 some odd years gotten so much resistance against hospital indemnity.
What's up, guys? Justin Brock here, and I have back with me, done several interviews in the past with him, is my good friend Demetri over at GTL, longtime GTL. I mean, you pretty much could say he's a made man at this point at GTL. He's been there, he's been around, he knows everything there is to know about GTL and about all the products, of which there are many. GTL, from a hospital indemnity standpoint, the HIP market, the plan that actually supplements the Advantage plan, that comes in and fills the gaps in the Advantage plans. They are the pioneer of that market. And while that market gets increasingly crowded with competitors, they have continuously strived to be the pace setter in the market. I can honestly say that, whatever carrier comes along with a product, a lot of times they're mimicking the benefit schedule of GTL. And then, lo and behold, GTL steps up and moves the needle again, and so anyway, the experience in that market is with GTL and with Demetri, and we are proud to call them, I guess this would be the fourth sponsorship of Medicare Con, 4 years in a row.
I believe so.
Were you in Birmingham?
It's a long run, man.
In Birmingham, right?
No, I didn't do Birmingham. That was
Vegas, Orlando. So this would be the third. But that's three sponsors, which of course we're like sincerely appreciative. And I know that the people that come to our event are appreciative because, like we've told them, the ticket sales help tremendously. So, no disrespect to anybody that's buying a ticket, but without the sponsors, there's just no way we could put on the kind of show. I mean, last year it was $950,000, and we need sponsors to make that happen. And some of our best sponsors are carriers because, like I tell everybody, and I didn't make this up, somebody told me this a long time ago, or they said it from a stage a long time ago, every 1099 you get has a carrier's name on it. So, I'm constantly a proponent of build relationships with carriers, be nice to the employees at carriers. They're a partner. We're their partner. They're our partner. And, with our powers combined, the carrier and the broker, we can solve the needs, and both of us can make money benefiting the consumer. And that's what we want to do. And that's what Medicare Con's about. We are, the event that brings in the highest concentration of actual agents that are writing business every day. And that's why we want to get the carriers there to talk to them. And GTL is an extremely broker-friendly company that has been broker-centric for years. So you were just telling me about a couple of changes in, certain products that, just going to enhance what's already a great product. But just wanted to touch a little bit on the hospital indemnity market. I think every year we get a little bit more friendly to bringing up the hospital indemnity sale and each Medicare Advantage sale. And of course, in our office, we do a pretty good job at that. But even here, we can always do better. But there's a lot of agents out there that still aren't doing it. And even though it seems like a market to the people that are plugged in that should be on fire, there's still like an extremely low attachment rate in the industry for a hospital indemnity product to a Medicare Advantage plan. So just thought you might could touch on that, Demetri. What do you think is behind that, reluctance to pitch, or, just low adaptation, or fear that it's not covering enough value, or what do you think that is?
And I go around the country a lot and speak with various agents and agencies and such. And one of the things that I always hear about from folks is that I'm afraid that I'm going to mess up the deal, that, the MA deal itself, if I spoke about something else in addition to that. And, we've had a lot of time to think on it, about this. And one of the things I always want to consider is that we get cross-sold every single day. Not in the insurance business. We're just talking about our regular lives. Mm-hmm. If you were to consider, let's say you go to Joseph A. Banks to go get, a new suit, what's that salesperson going to tell you after you pick out the nice suit that you pick out? Hey, Justin, do you want this tie? This would go really well with that suit.
Yeah, you didn't win the ties for $100.
Exactly. So I think the idea about ruining another sale because you're offering on an appropriate product suggestion is not a really strong argument, in my opinion.
Another analogy like that is I tell people the same thing because they are concerned with it, is if you go to a restaurant at the end of the meal, you're full and they bring you a dessert menu and say, would you like dessert? You don't ever get mad at them for doing that. You're not irritated. You're just like, no, thank you. I'm so full. Now, by that same analogy, if they brought you the dessert menu while you were ordering your main course and said, hey, by the way, I only have about 2 of these, creme brulees left, and then I have 3 of these left. Just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't want to, your attachment rate would be higher because they positioned it when the appetite was there. And that's why positioning and the timing matters. Now, at the end of the meal, you're still stuffed. Maybe you don't eat that thing.
I'll take it home.
If you bought it fair and square, right? Now, the ancillary attachment, especially with like a hospital indemnity, you're bringing up the Medicare Advantage plan. If you're not actually bringing up things like the hospital daily copay, then you're already doing your client a disservice. So if you're worried that the hospital indemnity plan highlights something that you didn't appropriately highlight in the beginning of the sale, then you have a bigger problem than the ancillary messing up your sale. You have a compliance issue. And it's funny because I find that in a lot of field, we do field and telesales, and field will say telesales are the crooks, but I find more often we get complaints of the out of pocket from field sales because a lot of times I just think because they're not recorded their calls, they don't adequately go over the summary of benefits and actually highlight, hey, you have this, but it presents a sales opportunity. And not just a sales opportunity, you're kind of looking at it as like, what is the complete picture here? With this product here, this plan that it looks like all your doctors take, it satisfies that OTC benefit or that dental benefit you were looking for, whatever it is, but here are the variables to this product. You're going to have this $5 primary care copay. Great. No big deal. We have this $15 specialist copay. No big deal. Now, a couple of things that are a big deal that I'm going to come back and tell you how we're going to make sure that those are covered are your daily hospital copay. Days 1 through 5 on this plan, you're going to be out $275 a day, but then after that, it pays 100%. But I know that $275 a day is expensive for a lot of people. Most people don't just have that laying around. So we're going to come back and talk about how we would cover that. Then if you got on chemotherapy or something like that, you would have a 20% potential out of pocket up to this maximum out of pocket. So you're highlighting it, but you keep saying, but I'm going to show you how we're going to cover that. And then after you get towards the end, you come back and you say, now, this plan, the Aetna PPO with this amount of dental that you like, these low primary care copays you like, the lower maximum out of pocket, it takes the doctors take it, and with this GTL, hospital protection plan or this hospital indemnity plan paired together, we're talking about $37 a month or $42 a month, whatever it is, collectively with these plans together. And you have those hospital daily copays covered. You have, the potential for that chemo covered with a $15,000 or $10,000 cancer benefit, whatever it is. You can just design that way, tell them what the price is, and you'd just be shocked at how many people. Matter of fact, we've done a little bit of research on it, and the adaptation rate to just bringing it up is about 20%. So even if you didn't structure it as well as I was talking about there, and you just said, okay, there's your Medicare Advantage plan. By the way, did you want a hospital indemnity plan to cover those daily hospital copays and that potential out of pocket if you got, chemo or radiation or went to a skilled nursing facility? Oh, how much is it? It's this much. Yeah, I'll take that. About 20% just from that would take it. Just from that.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, 100%.
It isn't getting brought up, either because of laziness or stupidity or fear. I'd say most of it is irrational fear, because I'm not going to call agents and brokers stupid or lazy, even though we all know a couple of them are, and that's okay. Demetri won't say that, but I'll say it.
Nope. I will not.
Most of the time, it's an irrational fear. I didn't learn to do it that way, so that's not what I'm going to do. But you add that in there. And the ones that say, most of the people that say, no, don't say no. They say, I'm going to think about it. And you can decide how hard you want to push. But at first, get that quick 20%, adaptation. And then you could work on getting that up to 35 or 40%.
Not alone if you're in your experience, Justin, if you've seen this or not, but, when an advisor, agent, someone on the phone, whatever the case may be, if they're always presenting the same package of product for their clients, meaning it's hospitalization, ambulance, skilled nursing, cancer. That's like their main package that they present every single time. They'll end up being, having a lot more success also, and also being a little bit more efficient because they're used to presenting something too. So if they start getting into that habit of asking, and then they know what they're presenting every single time, next thing you know, you're running through this real quick and easy, and providing that benefit to that the clients could definitely need and could use for sure.
Absolutely. You want to make your process as replicatable as possible. And you do that by simplifying and knowing like these are the things that are most important to cover. Some people do that by making it as cheap as possible. I would implore people to try to build it to actually match the benefits as much as possible. And then, you'd be surprised that you probably will cover more risk and make more money pitching a slightly, and I'm not trying to say build it to be as expensive as possible, build it to be as adequate as possible. And wherever that falls, if that falls in the $65, $70 a month range, quote that. And you'd be surprised how many people are completely okay with that. And a lot of people thought that this would cost more.
Yeah, and if they don't like the $65, $70 range, that's okay. You can remove a rider or two to make it more affordable for that particular person. It's not set in stone for sure.
So you could always go back, critical illness, skilled nursing facility, and get back to the core product and be in that $35 range wherever.
Yeah. So we did throw a little curveball to you this year because we added a rider. So I better throw that in there, with that guaranteed purchase option rider. So it's a rider that I think is super affordable for folks because it's a benefit that allows somebody 5 times up until their age 85 to increase their base benefit by 10% at their current age when they execute the rider. So let's say if somebody had a $300 daily benefit and they wanted to exercise the guaranteed purchase option, then they can call us up and say, yeah, please add 10%. So that'd be a $30 add to their daily benefit. Now, the benefit for the insured is that they're not going through underwriting, they're not going through pre-X, and they avoid the contestability period. So it's just a straight add-on benefit, to their existing policy at their current age. So I think that's a pretty neat option to take care of. Don't get me wrong. It's like, I'm not going to change my stance in terms of when I train, I say, we need to make sure we give folks $50 to $100 more in daily benefit than what they have today on their MA plan, just so that they can use the extra dollars for various other things, be it, pet boarding or extra expenses, paying for gas for somebody to come up and visit with them or something like that, various things that could happen. But this could be another add-on in case it does, in case the market does get a little more higher copays than we expected, And also, there's also a wellness benefit as part of the GPO rider. So every year we know that the seniors are going to go to get their annual exam done. So they'll get a $100 benefit from the wellness exam. So for all intents and purposes, we'll wipe out the cost of the rider with that $100 wellness benefit. Nice. So it's really net cost zero.
I like it.
Quite honestly, making a little tweaks here or there, with a hospital indemnity plan, last fall, we just introduced the GPO rider, which now it's available in Mississippi, by the way. It's available like in 20 states right now, the rider, but what
does that rider do?
It basically, if somebody gets a $300 a day type of base benefit, they have 5 times over the course of the policy once a year to be able to increase it by the base benefit of 10%. So $30 a pop 5 times basically. And it's just going to be, you're basically getting rid of the pre-X stuff, the contestability side of things. You're just purchasing an additional $30 a day of benefit at their current age that they are right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still believe that we should still give people more than what they need today, just because I think that makes sense in general. But if something really goes, funky with the MA market, you got another opportunity to be able to juice it up a little bit more. Yeah. Which is it's a lot more palatable, money wise when you're thinking $30 a day of benefit versus trying to juice it up $200 a day,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's so that's a pot. That's from that perspective, that's pretty good. Looking at, we just introduced that we're putting down the short-term home health care down to 55 years old. So that we had it at 61 for a few years, and then now we're putting it back down to 55. So that helps with trying to get to the just pre-65 market, because obviously that's a time when we have to start thinking about these things versus just not at 65.
Yeah.
Product wise, that's where we're kind of sitting. Nothing really has changed product wise other than, did you know about our Recover Cash short-term care product?
No.
It's a nursing home product, 3 levels of care: intermediate, custodial, and skilled care, up to $300 a day. You can choose up to $360 a benefit period, but then you can also add a home health care rider, so you can get up to $1,400 a week in benefits for a 26-week benefit period or 52-week benefit period. Okay. And that also comes with our caregiver benefit. So, that's kind of you don't have to actually, from a home healthcare perspective, you can do like $50 a day, for skilled nursing, but you can do $1,400 on the home healthcare side if you wanted to go that route.
Okay.
So it's not like tied, not dramatically tied to where you have to do $200 a day or $300 a day. You can go as little as $50 a day, as long as you got the base plan to get to the $1,400 a week. I've heard, it's not enough. We don't have enough, not enough time. But we've combated that or shown that that's not the case. Because if you present it during the MA appointment, you add another 10, 15 minutes to that presentation, no more than that, really, if we do it the right way, right?
Yep.
And so I really do think that the hospital indemnity, which I can't say this legally for folks to speak about it to their clients, maybe you can, maybe you've thought about this, but this is really a Medicare. It's really a supplement to an MA. You probably already think about it that way as you're in your office, but it's just, I've been talking a little bit more about it from that perspective. And
I don't know. It's weird because yes, it's not a Medicare supplement, but it is a supplement to a Medicare Advantage plan. I know some call centers that sold it that way. And I don't know. I think if you got into like lawyers interpreting it, I think there's perfectly legal argument that you could say a supplement to Medicare Advantage plan.
Yeah, I just don't want people to get themselves put on the radar for CMS, to be honest with you.
No, or the Department of Insurance in their state or something like that. But
yeah.
Well, as always, moving and shaking, adapting to medical inflation costs, that kind of thing, is what you're doing there. And we know GTL is going to continue to do that and be a pace setter. We again thank you, Demetri, thank GTL for being part of the event. And I know that the brokers are going to be excited to put a face to the name or just, see you again, because I know a lot of them are already friends with you. So thank you for being here today, Demetri, and we'll talk soon, brother.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, and I really appreciate the partnership. And come by the booth. We'll be there talking product.
Awesome.